So, what if I told you that the reality you experience every single day isn't actually fixed? That you, right now, have the power to fundamentally change the very organ that creates it? Well, today, we're diving into the science that proves your brain isn't set in stone. It's this dynamic, changeable tool, and we're going to learn how to become its master.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're just kind of running on a script? You react to things the same way, you get caught in the same old thought patterns, and you find yourself doing things you wish you could change. It's that feeling of being a passenger in your own life, right? Like you're being driven by these forces you can't quite put your finger on.
Well, there's actually a name for this autopilot mode. It's called the bootstrapped mind. Just think of it like your brain's default operating system. It's been built up over years from all your past experiences, your conditioning, everything. And all of that stuff creates these super deep neural pathways that pretty much dictate how you think, feel, and act, most of the time, without you even realizing it's happening.
Yeah, you can think of these pathways as these hidden programs just running in the background. They're like these subconscious scripts that are constantly shaping your life, often completely without your conscious permission.
So how does this actually show up day to day? Well, you see it in that flash of anger when someone cuts you off in traffic. That's an automatic reaction. Or that jolt of anxiety right before a presentation. That's a conditioned response. And what about that negative self-talk? That little voice that just loops in your head telling you you're not good enough? That's the whole thing. It's that subconscious nudge to grab junk food when you're stressed. This is exactly what it means to live without conscious intention.
But here's the good news. What if we aren't stuck with that programming for the rest of our lives? It turns out science has handed us the key to rewrite our own mental code. And that key, that secret, is neuroplasticity.
And this, right here, is a huge shift in how we understand the brain. I mean, for decades, the belief was that our brain's wiring was pretty much locked in after childhood. But we now know that's just not true. The reality is our brain is incredibly malleable. It can, and it does, change and reorganize itself. It forms new connections, it strengthens some, it lets others fade away, and it does this all throughout our entire lives.
Just let that sink in for a second. Neuroplasticity isn't just some cool scientific concept. It is a powerful, practical tool for your own personal transformation. It's something you can actively use to change your life, literally, from the inside out.
So here's the takeaway. Your past experiences, all that conditioning, yeah, they may have written the first draft of the code, but neuroplasticity, that hands you the keyboard. You actually have the power to go in, debug the old programs, and write new, more empowering ones. You are not just the software, you are the programmer.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it, right? How do we take back the controls from that autopilot? Let's get into the practical, step-by-step guide for building brand new neural pathways.
The process is actually surprisingly simple. It really boils down to 3 key steps. First, you have to see the old program running. Second, you have to decide to change it. And third, you have to practice a new program until it becomes your new default. So let's break each of those down.
Step 1 is all about building that self-awareness. This is where you basically become a neutral observer of your own mind. You just start noticing your patterns, your triggers, your automatic reactions. And this is key. You do it without judging yourself. It's not about criticism. It's just about seeing things clearly. It's like shining a flashlight on those hidden programs so they're not so hidden anymore.
Now, step 2. This is your moment of power. Once you're aware that an automatic pattern is kicking in, you can hit pause. And in that tiny little pause, you can make a conscious choice. You can actively decide to respond differently, to think a new thought, to take another action. That single choice is what disrupts the old pathway and starts to carve out a new one.
And that brings us to the final step, deliberate practice. You see, one conscious choice is great, but it's not enough to overwrite years and years of conditioning. Real, lasting change takes repetition. There's a famous saying in neuroscience, neurons that fire together, wire together. Every single time you practice a new thought or a new behavior, you're making specific neurons fire, and that strengthens their connection. With enough repetition, that new pathway gets stronger, faster, and eventually it becomes your new automatic response.
So, what happens when you actually commit to this process? Well, the results can be, wow, truly transformative. You really stop being just a creature of habit, and you start becoming the architect of your new self.
The potential here is just immense. You can actively reshape those self-limiting thoughts that have been holding you back for years. You can transform those unhelpful habits, whether it's procrastination or unhealthy eating. By rewiring your emotional responses, you can boost your well-being and become way more resilient to stress. And ultimately, this lets you build a life that's truly in line with your values, which leads to this deep, profound sense of fulfillment.
This is such a fundamental shift in how you see the world. We move away from feeling like life is just happening to us, and we start to realize that we are active participants in creating it. We are empowered to design the life we actually want to live. Now, one really important thing to remember is that this is a journey, okay? Rewiring decades of mental programming, it doesn't happen overnight. This process requires patience and, maybe most importantly, self-compassion. You have to be kind to yourself when you slip up. Progress is never a straight line, and every little step forward is a victory.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer, so I'll just leave you with this one thought. Knowing that your mind is changeable, knowing that you hold the power to rewrite your own code, if you could rewrite just one single program in your mind, starting today, what would it be? The power truly is yours.